Welcome to Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. Brought to you by Contractors Connect, this show dives into real-world issues facing today's builders on and off the job site.
Whether you're swinging a hammer, running a crew, or scaling a business, we've got the insights, stories, and expert tips to help you level up in the building industry.
I'm Sarah White.
And I'm Erin Bacher. And together, we'll be talking shop with industry leaders, tradespeople, and innovators who are shaping the future of construction.
Let's get to work. This is Trade Talk. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah White, and this is Trade Talk, the podcast where construction pros connect, share, and grow. Today's episode is a little different in a great way.
That's right. Today we've got the whole Beespoke crew. Today we have Lindsay Lord and Kelly Bench with us.
Hi.
Yes, I'm Lindsay, and I'm excited to be here today and talk about what makes marketing actually work for builders and contractors.
And I'm Kelly, the newest face on the team. Excited to be here and dig into some of the strategies that work for us and talk a little bit about the mistakes that we see too often.
Yes, so today's episode, we are going to be the experts and give our marketing advice with our Beespoke brand and talk about things that we've done that have been successful.
We see this kind of thing, have these conversations all the time with different clients, mostly in the construction industry, but not necessarily limited to. And then we are going to end with a fun rapid fire session.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Let's talk about branding, because I really feel like that is the foundation for everything. That's your first impression. And that's an area that a lot of businesses in this industry could probably use some help with.
Yeah. I think sometimes people just got started and maybe on a shoestring budget and didn't think these things through at the beginning. And then it becomes so expensive to rebrand.
Yep.
Right.
Or they think it's going to be,
Definitely. And I think a lot of these companies have been around for a long time, and they don't think that maybe we should refresh the brand, make it look a little more modern.
Yeah. You have a big background in this, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's never too late to rebrand, but I think that even if you have something, you can start with what you have and remain consistent with it, refresh it. You don't have to go all the way back to square one and start totally over.
Right.
But you can start where you're at and remain consistent with it across all the platforms of all your marketing avenues and rock and roll with it.
I think it's good to step back sometimes and kind of get an understanding of what other people think about your brand. We recently did this with my husband's construction business and kind of found out that people didn't really understand what his name meant. And so we're kind of working on a refresh just to get the name out there, because I think that that's important. And like you said, it's never too late to do a refresh. And I mean, we just got started a couple years ago, and so it's never too soon to look at it either. So.
Yeah, and sometimes your brand might lend to sub-brands. Like, for example, Contractors Connect. We have all different sub-brands that kind of fall under that, and that might play out well with a company that has a service department, a residential department, a commercial department. There's all kinds of ways to get your brand out there.
Yeah. And in regards to branding, I think one thing that's super important is keeping it professional. And I specifically want to talk about photography. I think a lot of times people don't think about the importance of having quality photos for content. And I think, we were just talking about this. Once you leave the job site, and if you don't take the photos right away, it's really hard to get back. So that's definitely something to be prioritized.
Yeah, the attention to detail in everything you do is so important, because it's a representation of your business, of you, and that transcends across all marketing channels. And
really that is your best business card, is showing people what you've done. And you can have a website that has all these stock photos of different pavers or types of roofs or things like that. But if you don't have pictures of actual jobs,
it doesn't mean anything to anybody.
Right.
And keep in mind, you're growing clients all the time. People are looking for your services constantly, and they may be people that have never seen any of your branding or any of your marketing before. And so keeping that fresh, keeping that professional, keeping that attention to detail consistently all the time is super important.
I do think we should reiterate, though, once the job is done, and you think you're going to go back there and take pictures of it, you are not. It does not work that easily.
Yeah,
and we see
absolutely.
this with clients all the time. Like, you have to take pictures through the process, especially if you want this before and after. Remodelers, like, please, Lord, take the picture before you start, because it's not going to happen again.
Clients want to see that. They want to see where it started and where you ended, and that's really important to be able to show that.
Exactly. And speaking of that, I think people get a little frustrated when they come in, hire a marketing company, expect these wonders to be made with their social media marketing or whatever it is. But if we don't have content, there's only so much that we can do and create, and it's not going to represent your brand well. So that's one of the best things you can do, is just stockpile professional photography.
Yes. Even if you don't know what you're going to do with it yet, get
Exactly.
it.
Yeah, and we keep saying professional photography, and that's great. And I especially like when we can do lifestyle professional photography and show people living in a house or that sort of thing. I love doing that. But that might be too much for some people. So just make sure you're getting good photos. And make sure you're, I feel like sometimes people don't even know how to frame the photo, or they don't notice there's a piece of trash in the corner, or, it's just putting, looking at it like you're doing a photo shoot. And even though you're just snapping it with your phone, look at it after you take it. Is it blurry? Do you
Get
notice
lots
something?
of angles.
Yeah.
Clean your camera.
How's
Takes
the
a lot
lighting?
of pictures.
Yes.
A lot.
And there's certainly tons of YouTube tutorials for beginners on just how to take a great camera phone photo.
At least find a friend that has a good eye.
Yes.
But make sure there's not a Sunkist can and a Doritos bag in the background. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
Looking to grow your business and your network? Join us for the next Contractors Connect meetup, Thursday, July 10th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Hotel Indigo in Panama City. It's your chance to connect with contractors, subcontractors, and home industry pros who are building the Gulf Coast together. Tickets are just $20. Grab yours online today, and don't miss this opportunity to make meaningful connections that matter. Contractors Connect, where the industry meets.
Okay, so that kind of leads into another part of that is really essential for marketing, and that's getting reviews. And that's a great thing to do if you're working with homeowners, obviously, as soon as the job is done, because it's always difficult to go back. But also with other contractors, I just think that adds so much to your business. You can use them in multiple ways, and you should.
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's easier if you direct your reviews straight to your Google business page.
Of course.
And then you can use those in different ways, like on your website. Take those and use them in other ways, but get them there first, because that directly relates to your SEO. And especially if you can get the reviewer to post pictures or photos or whatever, it goes such a long way.
Yeah. And I really like to encourage people to respond to those. Go in and thank people. Let people that are looking for your business see that you are thankful for those reviews, and that you are acknowledging that people are taking the time to do that.
Definitely.
Very effective.
Absolutely.
And so let's talk about some other marketing tactics. Something we like to do is direct mail. And it doesn't necessarily work for every type of construction business, but it works for a lot of them.
I know. It's, marketing goes through waves of trends. This is in, this is out. And I remember thinking at some point that direct mail was totally out. We have proven results. It may not work with every industry and every clientele, but we've seen great results in the construction industry, especially when you're marketing to a homeowner.
Well, yeah. And I think the thing is that we get so much digital messaging all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That when you actually hold something in your hands, and for myself, I hold it in my hands while I'm walking down the driveway, and then I drop it in the trash. But I am looking at it while I'm doing that more than probably all the other ads that are, in my face all day long.
Yeah, it's going to stand out in your mailbox. No one's getting the amount of mail that we were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not lost in a stack of 50 envelopes on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So
it's branding.
Absolutely.
It goes back to that branding. And if you have great photography and you have a good logo, then you've got a direct mail piece.
Absolutely. I like to always encourage including a call to action on there.
Yes,
Solve a problem for somebody. Have them open it up and know exactly what you do, what you can do for them, and what type of problem that may solve for them at that time.
Yeah, we've used trackable QR codes on mailers too. This is something that we also use within our own brand with Contractors Connect. And when we do a direct mail, our attendance at our events skyrockets.
Yeah.
We should probably do another
And it's
one.
funny because a lot of people walk in holding the postcard.
like an invite.
Yeah, so they
absolutely.
didn't throw it away.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool to see more people do those and maybe even include tips, tricks, things that homeowners will hold on to, have some type of information on there that will prevent people from wanting to throw it away.
Right.
Whether it be an invitation to an event,
Yeah.
people are going to want to know the date and the time and the place of those things. So that's a really great avenue to get that information into
kind of a
people's
good-
hands.
That's a good segue to newsletter.
Yeah.
It's like a physical
Yeah.
newsletter, you know?
Yeah.
Right. Something we used to do many moons ago is put magnets on postcards, and then you can peel the magnet off and stick it on your fridge. Although I feel like so many fridges aren't magnetic.
Magnetic now.
That's true.
Okay, so let's talk about relationships, networking, and the importance of that, which clearly is a big tie-in for us.
We definitely believe in it. Obviously, with our event that we host, Contractors Connect, bringing the community together in the construction industry, people find it invaluable, and that's been proven just by our attendance and the people that ask for us to bring it back after kind of a hiatus for a little bit of time. So,
And you see it from two sides because your husband is a general contractor.
he directly benefits from the relationships that he makes at these type of events. And not just to speak to Contractors Connect, but getting involved in the local community and different, the Builders Association or whatever connects with your type of business, I think is important because at the end of the day, especially in our area, we live in a small town and relationships do mean a lot. I want to work with somebody that I know that knows us. And so I just don't think that time or money spent on those types of things is ever lost.
And even if it's not something like Contractors Connect, I know Drew gets invited to events from subcontractors
Right,
a lot.
exactly.
The flooring company invited you
Exactly.
guys to something recently.
Yep, and that's exactly what I'm saying is, we want to work with people like that we've built up relationships with, that we know are going to be good to our clients as well, because at the end of the day, then everybody has a good look and is providing a great service, and we can trust and depend on these people. So I think networking events are huge and definitely worth a look at putting into your marketing budget.
Calling all women in construction, this is your moment to build boldly. Join us for the Built to Lead Women in Construction Summit, happening August 21st at the Emerald Grand in Destin, Florida. This one-day event brings together industry leaders for powerful keynotes, breakout sessions, and real talk about leadership, growth, and opportunity in the building world. Space is limited, so grab your ticket now at contractors-connect.com/contracther. Let's break ground together.
Kelly, you have a big background with events and corporate events. I mean, how do you feel about the construction industry hosting events and things like that?
I think it's awesome. I think, where else can you find an avenue that you can go to or a place where you are in a room of like-minded people with similar goals, brainstorm with them, learn from them, of course, show support, refer clients, but really just to be in a space of people that are doing what you're doing day in and day out.
Right.
And have similar goals, which I think
like she said, Contractors Connect especially is so great because it's a niche, and even a sub brand of that we're going to be hosting is Contract Her, and so it's getting. We're really drilling down to extremely like-minded people in similar situations. Yeah. We can attend young professional events, but you're going to have all types of businesses. It's rare that you can get the same business in one room with all people, from all different fields that kind of work together to solve these problems. So it's great opportunity.
Yeah. And then on the Beespoke side, we have marketing clients that we help put on events for. So recently, May was bonkers with events. We had the Builders First Source Trust Plant grand opening that we helped them plan. And then last week, we had Savi Flooring and Tile hosted Tile and Tacos, a new signature event to their brand that they'll host more than once. And the week before that, Specialty Roofers hosted the Specialty Spot Charity Fishing Tournament. So we believe in those kinds of things. We like for businesses to get involved and start being part of the event culture in a way that brings people to them.
Yeah, we saw a lot of people show up for those too. They don't have to be extravagant events. You can do something small in your own showroom. You can do a signature event, which is on a larger scale. But we've seen it firsthand that the community shows up, and a lot of those connections are started at Contractors Connect.
Our building community shows up for sure. But really it all goes back to relationships and building relationships with your customers. And part of that too is gifting. And that's something that we always encourage our clients to do, because it can be on whatever scale you want it to be. And I wouldn't necessarily suggest that you just do Christmas gifts
100%.
or holiday gifts. You you send a burgers in the summer.
Yeah.
It's then it's a little bit more meaningful because it's unexpected.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's also a great way to introduce yourself to, if you show up with a gift at their office.
This may be the Southerner in us, but we love this.
And
it
absolutely.
works.
It works 100%. And I was going to say the same thing, Sarah. I used to work in a corporate environment, and we would try to capitalize on the non-popular times. So we would send a gift at spring, to just something fun and lighthearted. People remember that. You get so many gifts during the holidays that I think it's still important to acknowledge and show your appreciation at that time. But
Brisket on 4th of July goes a long way.
100%. Yeah. Getting creative at different times of year really can make a difference.
And I always remember moons ago, with a different client, it was a dumpster company. And I just loved this client. Like, I don't know why, but I just had
bizarre.
I loved them. He was from South Africa, and then his partner, they're still around. Disposal Dumpster.
Still
we'll
is
give
from
him
South Africa.
He still is. He is. He's still living. Anyway, we got to help them from the ground up, and I love things like that where they you get to be there from the beginning, the branding and everything. And I wanted my husband's company so badly to switch to them because they're roofers and they use a ton of dumpsters. And he wouldn't switch at the time, would not switch because whoever he was using gave them steaks every year. And I was like, come on. I mean, this is my favorite client. They eventually did start using them in addition to some other companies, but I mean, it matters.
It does. And that's a good point, Erin. Customizing those things, knowing who you're gifting to. Don't just go out and buy a bunch of generic things and think that it's going to have the same effect with every single client. If you have someone that's really into barbecuing, a custom cutting board may be great, or, a knife, something like that. But just take that extra time to think about who you're gifting it to and what they would actually really enjoy.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
And we recently did this with Builders First Source with their event that they had for the grand opening of their truss plant.
Yep.
What did we come up with? 30 or so floating coolers and just
cool.
summer giveaways.
BFS towels.
And it was an invitation to the event for certain high profile people that they wanted to be there. They dropped that off, and I think
it was a hit.
For sure.
And that's something that's going to get used all summer, and their branding is going to be everywhere, on the beach, at the pool.
Yeah,
on the
those
boat.
coolers are cool too.
They are, absolutely.
Yeah, that was very
I
popular.
know I kind of wanted one.
Yeah, we didn't get her one.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of ideas today, but I always feel like it's best to start with a strong strategy and marketing plan, and to take a step back and look at, and you can do it right now. Look at everything that you're doing and decide, figure out what your goals are. Are your goals to get more contractors? Are your goals to get more homeowners? What are your goals to grow your business in Bay County? Well, and look at what you're doing and figure out, is this achieving that goal? Is advertising for the Fort Walton Little League gonna get me new clients in Bay County? No. So I just look back, take a step back, and come up with a game plan is really important.
Yep. And we do this with clients. We've got a client coming up tomorrow Should I say their name? Walk your plans. I already did it. But we'll talk to them about that. They're launching a new franchise in this area. Really cool concept. And we have all kinds of ideas, but we will encourage them to start with a marketing plan that we can help them build. But you don't have to have a marketing company to create a marketing plan. You at least get something down on paper and keep track of what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. I think that's the most important part is just, knowing what you're doing. I think a lot of times people just go in and they do these efforts and they can't really remember or tell you exactly how they're spending their money. And so then it's definitely not as effective because you can't sit back and look at progress made from these efforts and that sort of thing. So.
Well, and I think a lot of times they have a really great salesperson who comes in and pitches this idea to them and they're like, yeah, this is fantastic. But they haven't really taken a step back to think, well, is that really what's going to get me new customers?
Right.
Are my customers reading this magazine or, whatever?
Yeah. And then taking that all the way back to the beginning, know who your client is. Know who you're trying to market to. I mean, how many times have we talked to people and we ask them that simple question, who do you believe your target client is? And most people can't answer that question. And it's a heavy question and it's convoluted and we understand that, but that is where you really need to start. You have to know who you want as a client before you can figure out how to get to those people.
Well, and you could start by looking at who are your clients now. And who are your biggest clients? What areas are they in?
And where do you make the most money?
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
A lot of
the
people
money.
don't look. They just don't look. So we like to have as much information as we can before we do a marketing consultation. I love to dig through the data. I love it. But where are they coming from? Who are they? Who's buying the most? Why?
Right.
And
then focus more on those areas, or you can look at it the other way and say, okay, I really want to grow this area, though.
What's your future goal?
So maybe I'll pull back some of
working?
my marketing resources from that and really focus on this.
And don't be afraid to change. If something's not working, just stop. Don't do it any longer.
Definitely reevaluate.
I was going to say, kind of back, just like your branding, I think that your marketing plan has to kind of be evaluated really on a yearly basis.
Yeah, maybe
because
more.
Your goals change. And your goals change throughout the year. And kind of like you said, if something's like a real hit and kind of running full speed ahead on its own, let's take some of those dollars and put them somewhere else where you're trying to grow that vertical.
I mean, we'll kind of highlight at the end of a marketing plan, 5-year goals, 10-year, whatever. But really, we're not trying to write a marketing plan for past a year.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not like we're trying, it's just, things change.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like, you start to lose the value in some instances when you're just in the same magazine every single month. It's just like people don't even see it anymore. So I do think just kind of moving things around helps a lot.
And like you said, you don't have to have a marketing company to help you do this, but I think the benefit to hiring somebody from the outside is just a fresh set of eyes. I think that helps your business a ton because once you stare at the same thing over and over, or, just getting a different perspective from somebody that could be a client or, works just in a different way, I think is important and helpful.
We even switch internally. Like we have a number 1 and a number 2 on client projects or whatever. And I, for a while, Specialty Roofers, my husband's company, was number 1, like for a very long time. And I recently fired myself. And Lindsay is now number 1. I'm number 3. But it needed it. It needed it. So fresh eyes, even, I mean, we value that enough that we see that in our own company. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing that I'd like to say is you can hire, some marketing companies are set up that, their clients are on retainer and, it's a big contract. And we've done that before, so I'm not knocking that. But a lot of these companies, they don't need that. They need help me with this and then with this. And so that's the way we set up Beespoke, which is kind of our favorite way to do it. And I think it does happen to lend to the construction industry better. So we can sit down and do a 2-hour consultation and then present you with ideas that you take or leave. But there's no pressure.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do. You're not going to get a huge proposal handed to you.
And so we sit down and we really dig into all of these things that we've just talked about, like who are your biggest customers? What areas do they come from? Who are your biggest competitors? And have you looked to see what they're doing?
Yeah.
Because that's really important.
We always do our
Yeah,
research before
absolutely.
these. Yeah.
When a workplace injury happens, every second counts. That's why leading companies trust Work Partners USA. Founded by Dr. Fred Mosley more than 15 years ago, Work Partners USA was one of the first to provide physician-led injury triage, not a call center. Their team of experts delivers exceptional advice, comprehensive care for non-life-threatening injuries, and unmatched OSHA compliance support. Need smarter solutions for workplace injuries? Partner with the pros who've got your back. Work Partners USA. Visit workpartnersusa.com and get back to building.
Okay, well, let's move on to a new segment called Nail It or Fail It. Okay. And so Lindsay is going to rapid fire some marketing trends, tactics, and we're going to say whether we think you should do it or not do it.
Okay. Awesome. Let's do it. First up, we've got drone footage on job sites.
Nail it.
I say nail it every time. I mean, we talked about professional photography. You cannot have too much.
Yeah.
Nail it.
Totally agree. Holiday themed social media post.
We do it, and I think it is good content if you're struggling to be consistent, but I don't think it's always necessary. And then sometimes I feel like you get into this trap of like, how am I going to recognize all these holidays?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I could
Take or
give or
leave
take.
it.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Yard signs with QR codes.
I would say 100% on yard signs or any job site branding.
Yeah, definitely.
The QR code, I could kind of go either way. I'd be more likely to put a QR code on something that you
Hold in your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit easier for people to actually
it's not
scan
gonna
those.
hurt.
It's hard when you're driving by, but the yard signs, absolutely nail it.
Yeah.
Your neighbors want to know
definitely.
who you're using, and that's a great way to get referrals.
Definitely. How about door hangers for new neighborhoods?
That's
Love
where I'd
that.
put the QR code.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
And even we just did for a client door hangers for when they're working in the neighborhood that say kind of like partner dust. And if our vehicles are in the way or having any problems with our crew, let us know. But also, this is what we do. So I think that's
I
great.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a sneaky way to get your name out there.
Yeah.
How about branded merch?
Nail it.
100%.
Yes.
For sure. Especially if it's good.
Yeah, well, that goes back to having a good logo.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And have your crews in that. When they're out working and they're in neighborhoods, have your crew in branded shirts, hats, whatever you can put them in. It not only looks professional,
And it needs
it's a
to be
great way for people
a
to see.
requirement.
I completely
No
agree.
showing up to work not brand, especially if you're on the job site.
100%.
Yes.
Yep, nail it.
We had our pool deck redone last summer, and it was funny to me because the crew all had different shirts for different paver companies on that was
'cause they're
not the
subs.
one
yeah.
that I was paying. I was like, this is kind of a branding nightmare.
That cannot be.
No.
No.
How about TikTok for contractors?
I love TikTok so much. And I do see contractors on there, and I think that it's great. And it's just another way of reaching a different demographic.
Yeah.
I
Be
think
careful
if you can do it well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I mean, I think it's hilarious and definitely can be useful, but yeah, you've got to know.
And just make sure what you're putting on TikTok may not be always the same things that you want to put on your Instagram or your Facebook.
Right.
Or
LinkedIn.
sometimes those messages may be different, but you can also use TikTok in a more serious avenue as well.
Yeah.
You can have videos that go for a little bit longer of a time. You can get the message across, but I agree with you. If you do it right, it can work, but it can also be a major fail if you don't.
Yep. DIY logos from Canva.
You know, I feel like if you can't afford to hire a graphic designer and your logo needs a refresh, then it can work out for you. It can also not work out.
I mean, I've seen some logos that could be much improved on Canva, for sure.
I think that if you use one of their templates, though, it's very easy to make small changes to where it doesn't look exactly like somebody else that may have pulled that same template. Change the font. Make sure you're using your brand colors. Add
Have
small
brand
things
colors.
too. Yeah,
Exactly.
have brand
Well,
colors, of course.
That's what I was gonna say. I think the benefit for users on Canva is that it kind of gives the ability for people that don't have a background,
Of course.
and doing that sort of thing to make things look decent.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Incredible. Canva's an incredible tool.
I think it's great. Like you said, the logo. I would hope that you could get a professional to do that from the get-go, but if not, it's not the worst thing.
Yeah.
Do the best with what you've got.
100%.
Of course.
And you can even schedule social media through Canva.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of tools that Canva can do that somebody in your office could probably handle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do we feel about email newsletters?
I guess it depends on the client. I think that they can be useful if you have interesting things going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For example, we just did one for Savi Flooring and Tile. They had the Tile and Taco event coming up, and then it'll be appropriate to send a recap of that event.
Yeah.
Well, and that also is important, though, that you segment your mailing list so that you're sending the right message to the right people. So for that event, they were
Absolutely.
inviting other people
good
in the
point.
building industry, not customers. And so if you don't maintain your mailing list well, you can really get into trouble.
Yeah.
Into trouble. And then also, you want people to open what you're sending. And so
exactly.
if you're sending too much
Absolutely.
Things that people aren't interested
and
in.
it's not interesting, then it's just going to get lost anyways. And then they're missing the important stuff like events that you really want people in person at. So
I think I would
you got to be tactful.
kind of lend towards saying fail it on that, just because I think it's difficult for this industry to do it correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
But we do it well
Yeah.
for some people.
And to do it consistently, it's hard. Like you said, Erin, if there's not enough content, just putting out a newsletter is, kind of a waste of time. And
But even quarterly is consistent.
yeah,
It is
absolutely.
consistent.
Absolutely.
So if you have something interesting to say 4 times a year, say it.
Yeah.
But do it well and make it look really nice.
100%.
Absolutely.
All right. How about having your truck double as a billboard?
100%.
Nail it.
Posting the same content across different social media platforms.
Except for TikTok, where
Yeah.
you may want to put something slightly different. I think, if you have the time to change up what you're doing and post different things on different platforms, great. But I also think that sometimes if you don't have time, it is easy enough to have it posted across all platforms.
Right. It's better to be on multiple platforms with the same message than to not be
there
at
at
all.
all. Yeah, I think in this industry, let's just get on there and be talking.
Yeah.
Because every single one has a different audience that they reach.
100%.
And you can also very easily post something that is a stagnant post that's the same as a story or something that you put on Facebook, and maybe you make it into a video, or it may be exactly the same, but it may be presented in a different format, which will help catch attention and not look as redundant.
Definitely. How do we feel about bragging about our 5-star reviews?
All day long.
Yes, nail it.
Not even a question. Using memes in marketing?
Fail it.
I think there's
fail it.
so much room for error there.
Yes.
Just because you think you're funny doesn't mean you are.
Yeah. Okay. And then how about sponsor booths at local trade events?
Nail it if it reaches your target audience.
Yep. Yeah. If
And
it's
the event is well marketed.
Right.
Absolutely.
You can spend a lot of time and money going to set up at something and then 4 people show up.
Right.
Absolutely.
So if it's a well-established event and you know that there's going to be a good audience there for you, do it.
Yeah.
Don't be so quick to say yes to everything, especially in our market. You're going to get asked to advertise and be part of a lot of different things. Do the due diligence, ask the questions. How many people will be there? What is the target market of the people that are attending these things? And then make sure you choose wisely with what best fits for your business.
I agree.
That was a lot of fun.
It was. All right. Well, I think that will be a wrap on this episode.
I'd say we nailed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. See you next Tuesday. Thanks for tuning into Trade Talk, powered by Contractors Connect, where construction pros connect, share, and grow.
If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew.
Until next time,
Stay sharp
stay safe.
and keep building.